10 seconds to spare. Well, my clock has struck 5:30, so welcome everybody to our last regular council meeting of 2023. Get it right, yep. And as we start this meeting, we're going to start with a public hearing, but as we started, we have the pleasure of the Sioux annual Staff Recognition Awards. So we're going to go through. I think that at least one member is here. 10 years of service. Matthew Lalonde has been employed with the municipality for 10 years and has worked several roles in the municipal department, Public Works Department. Matt is currently the operations manager in Public Works. Matt Miller is celebrating his 10-year anniversary with the municipality and is currently with the airport, working as an airport operations technician. 15 years of service. Carly Collins has been with the municipality for 15 years. Carly has worked in several positions in the finance department and is our treasurer. Chris Favant is celebrating 15 years with the municipality and is the operations supervisor at the rec center. Kevin Elliott is celebrating 15 years and he works at the airport as an operations technician. Terry Baker is celebrating 15 years as a volunteer firefighter and captain. Terry recently accepted a permanent job with Emergency Services as the Fire Prevention and Training Officer. 20 years. Greg Olson has been with the Emergency Services as a volunteer firefighter for 20 years. He also is a captain and helps train firefighters. Charlene Brown has been with the Recreation and Culture Department for 20 years and has worked in many different roles. Charlene is currently working as an evening attendant. Lawrence Gale celebrates 20 years and works at the airport as an operations technician. 30 years. Al Howie celebrates 30 years with Emergency Services as a volunteer firefighter and a captain. Al helps train firefighters. Al, would you come up and accept your recognition? Thank you very much, Al. I think you want here. We go.
Picture in a little bit.
Yeah, you bet. There you go. You take this.
Look happy.
Well, 30 years is wonderful. Thank you. Congratulations, and thank you very much, Al. And one last one, 35 years. Don Carson has worked with the municipality for 35 years. You will see Don is with the Public Works Department as the landfill attendant. You know, we hear all the news about staffing change and turnover, but here's a few examples of staff staying, right? Good stuff. All right, we have a public hearing to start off tonight. I'll call the public hearing to order at, unless I was to have done that already, you can mark the time as you see fit. Introduction of amendments to the agenda.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, I have no amendments.
A motion that the agenda for the statutory public meeting of December 13th, 2023 be approved as presented. Moved by Councillor Cassidy, seconded by Councillor Lego. All in favor? Carried. Declarations of pecuniary interest.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, I have none.
Thank you. Applications. 4.1, Shoreline Road Allowance Closure and Sale, 660 Sturgeon River Road. Applicant Eric Peterson. This public hearing convened under the Ontario Municipal Act 2001. We okay? Okay. That's all right. To close part of a road allowance and the location described below pursuant to sections 8 and 9 of the Municipal Act 2001 to authorize the sale of the lands to the owners of the abutting lands. The subject lands are locally known as 660 Sturgeon River Road and are legally known as Range 1, PT Lot 21, Parcel 39382, Part 1, ONKR 62. The Development Services Manager will confirm how notice was served to advertise this public hearing.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, notice was advertised in the local newspaper, signage was posted at the property, and the abutting neighbors received a notice in the mail.
The Development Services Manager will provide a summary of the application.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, a request to purchase the unopened shoreline road allowance abutting the property known locally as 660 Sturgeon River Road was submitted by the property owner Eric Peterson. The intent of the application is to acquire the shoreline lands to add to the existing property. The portion of shoreline road allowance that abuts Eric property has not been opened as a municipal highway and so provides no public or emergency access to the surrounding lands. If this area is sold, adjoining landowners will not be deprived of access to their properties. An administration fee of $1,250 will be charged to the property owners. The purchaser is responsible for all survey costs, legal fees, and registration costs. In terms of land purchase price, the tariff of fees recommends fair market value if the addition results in a significant increase in value for the upland parcel, or a $1,000 flat fee plus HST. Council has the option to require a market value appraisal to establish the price or charge the flat fee. Staff are recommending council charge the flat fee of $1,000 plus HST, as the additional land is unlikely to add significant value to their property.
Thank you. The Development Services Manager will read any correspondence received from government agencies and municipal staff.
Through your Mayor Lawrence, no comments were received.
The Development Services Manager will read any correspondence received from the public.
Through your Mayor Lawrence, no comments were received.
The applicant or a representative is invited to speak to the application. Is there anybody here who wishes to speak to the application? Seeing or hearing nobody. Questions from members of council? None. Questions from members of the public. Members of the public are invited to speak to the application. The public can ask questions of clarification or seek background information, speak in support of the application, or speak in opposition to the application. All questions will be directed through the chair. It is requested that only one question be asked at a time. Please identify yourself before you ask your question so that you can be properly recorded in the minutes of the hearing. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak? Hearing and seeing none. This is a public hearing convened under the Ontario Municipal Act 2001 to authorize to close part of a road allowance at the location described below, pursuant to sections 8 and 9 of the Municipal Act 2001 to authorize the sale of the lands to the owners of the abutting lands. The subject lands are locally known as 660 Sturgeon River Road and are legally known as Range 1 PT Lot 21 Parcel 39382 Part 1 ONKR62. There is no appeal process. The recommended motion is that council receives this report respecting the road allowance closure and sale application for the shoreline road allowance adjacent to Eric Peterson's property at 660 Sturgeon River Road, Sioux. And then in the regular council meeting, we'll pass another resolution. So with that motion to receive it, I need a mover, please. Councillor Lego, seconded by Councillor Timpson. All in favor? Carried. Bylaw number 106-23, confirming the proceedings of the Council of the Municipality of Sioux. Public hearing, December 13th, 2023. We read a first, second, and third time and it passed. Moved by Councillor Van Breda, seconded by Councillor Cassidy. All in favor? Carried. And the public hearing is adjourned. Thank you. We'll call the regular council meeting December 13th to order at 5:40 p.m. Introduction of any amendments to the agenda?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, based on the outcome of the public hearing, I believe council will wish to add item 7.12 to the agenda, respecting the road allowance closure and sale. Additionally, I believe council will wish to add under item 10, a final bullet to give 3 readings and approve adopt bylaw number 103-23, which is related to the road allowance closure and sale. And finally, item number 8 was dealt with just at the beginning of the public hearing, so that can be deleted.
Very good. Motion that the agenda for the regular council meeting December 13th be approved as amended. Moved by Councillor Cassidy, seconded by Councillor Bone. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Declarations of pecuniary interest.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, I have none.
Thank you. And we have some minutes to adopt. That the minutes of the regular council meeting held on November 15, 2023 be approved as presented. Moved by Councillor Costco, seconded by Councillor Lego. Any discussion on the minutes of November 2015? November 15, 2023. Yeah, that would be a long memory. See nothing. All in favor? Carried. And a motion that the minutes of the Environment Committee meeting held on September 14th, 2023 and October 19th, 2023 be received. Moved by Councillor Bone, seconded by Councillor Van Breda. Any discussion? None? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And determination of items requiring separate discussion. Item 7.1, electronic monitoring policy update. Item 7.2, option to assume DM Dunphy's waste disposal site. Councillor Lego. Lost Lake Center, the Lost Lake Center item, 7.3. Councillor Costco. 7.4, plan of subdivision, Sturgeon River Road, Jam Developments. Councillor Cassidy. (7.5) 2024 interim tax levy. Councillor Timpson. 7.6 2024 temporary borrowing. Oh, was that a hand? No. Thank you. 7.7 electronic signatures, airport BMO account. 7.8 electronic signatures, municipal BMO account. 7.9 signing authorities, all municipal bank accounts. 7.10 signing authorities, trust fund accounts. 7.11, resolutions to be submitted for consideration at the 2024 Kenora District Municipal Association annual meeting. Very good. And 7.12, road allowance closure and sale, referring to the item we had the public hearing for. And if we don't lift it, it's approved by consent. So not lifted. I want to thank you for not lifting 7, 8, 9, and 10, I think it was. They were about 3 pages long each for the motion. So. All right, by my record, we have lifted 7.1, 7.2, 7.3, 7.4, 7.5, and I think 7.11. That's it? Good. So we'll have a motion to adopt the items not requiring separate discussion. Item 7.6, item 7.7, item 7.8, item 7.9, item 7.10, item 7.12. Moved by Councillor Van Breda, seconded by Councillor Cassidy. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. So we have We will go to discussion of the items requiring separate discussion. Item 7.1. The council authorizes the passing of bylaw number 108-23, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 50-05, being a bylaw to adopt the personnel policy manual for the corporation of the municipality of Sioux. Moved by Councillor Cassidy, seconded by Councillor Van Breda. Thank you. And we'll start the discussion with Councillor Bone.
I was through marijuana, so I was going through the courts and I didn't find anything from union employees. There was some wording on employees, but not specifically union. And I was just wondering if they had anything in their collective agreement about audio. And I was also trying to find the definition of electronic monitoring, whether that includes audio, video, as such. That's my only question.
CIO, is the HR manager going to take these? Sorry, it's your choice.
Through your Mayor Lawrence, there is no wording in the collective agreement about electronic monitoring. This came into place after the current collective agreement was already there. Regarding the definition of electronic monitoring, that came through on the Bill 88, Working for the Workers Act, and it includes all types of electronic monitoring that can be used. So that would include surveillance, video, audio, every type that we could do.
So that can be found in Bill 88 then?
Yes.
Anybody else? Seeing no other comments or questions, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Item 7.2. The council declines the offer to assume the DM Dunphy waste disposal site due to the potential environmental and financial liability. Need a mover? Councillor Lego, seconder. Councillor Bone, and start the discussion with Councillor Lego.
Yeah, I just raised because I'm sure staff needed direction on this. I agree with the recommendation. We don't need to be taking on another liability. We already have one with our current landfill, which is over $4 million that we need to come up with over the next 25 years. So I agree with the recommendation to vote no on accepting this landfill.
Thank you. Further comments? The motion is stated in the negative that we decline the offer to assume. So a vote in favor is a vote in favor of the negative, declining it, just to be clear. No further questions, comments? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. The council provides direction to staff for the replacement of the existing Lost Lake Center. Mover? Councillor Van Breda, seconded by Councillor Costco. And start the discussion with JC, which I think is Councillor Costco, not Councillor Cassidy.
Now, it was my understanding, I went back and watched the minutes of the last meeting, and I did ask you the question that you felt that we could purchase this building for $300,000. And you did indicate that from your experience that you had seen people in the community do it and we would be able to do it. These quotes are substantially over $300,000. So I did talk to a few people who put up buildings in Sioux Lookout, and I do believe that your original idea that we could put some form of a pleasing, useful building up there, a prefab building for $300,000 is realistic. The quotes that you have are way out of line of anything we can afford or need or require. The 3,300 square feet with 50% of it as the rental, that means the rental is $800,000 to make $1,200 a month, which is makes no business sense whatsoever. So I would suggest that we get rid of the rental and go to these various businesses that do these prefab buildings with our $300,000 and see what we can get. Because there are people in town who have put up, quite nice buildings for $300,000, which would meet our needs for a small, reasonably priced senior center in Hudson. The quotes that came in well over millions of $1 million. I think one is $1.7 million. Is way out of the scope of what I believe when I voted in favor of the $300,000, that the $300,000 was the project, not a little portion of the project. And, I realistically, I did believe that you may come back and ask for a little more money, maybe for a parking lot or landscaping, but certainly not coming back asking for an additional $1.4 million. So I would like to see us go back to the table and talk to, like Best Buy Homes out of Winnipeg. That's a company that a couple of people in town have used, and see what we can get for $300,000. I do believe we can get a building for $300,000.
I think, sorry, let's not be recommending or
Yeah.
stating any private
Yeah.
companies
Yeah,
or names.
okay,
I
yeah.
understand
But there's multiple companies that do it out of Winnipeg that service Silicon.
I think Councillor Lego first, and then Councillor Van Breda.
Okay, I'm trying to wrap my head around this as well. Is the prices that were quoted for, looking at the schematics, it seems like you want to tear down the community hall and the Lost Lake?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, the intent would be to build alongside the Lost Lake Center in the existing parking area, and then tear down the Lost Lake Center after the fact, because there is a septic field in between the two buildings.
Okay, but that number 1.2 million to 1.7 million is for a new hall, a new, like, to complete both buildings, like,
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, so this is based on direction from council to, in essence, replace what was there, the 3,000 square foot building with some lease space, and as well as a prefabricated version, which, if you'll note, the Slifna building on King Street, they brought in, a prefabricated structure. That's what we utilized to get some pricing from. You have to keep in mind, too, this is a commercial use and assembly occupancy, which has different floor loading requirements and different building code requirements, which do add to the cost of this sort of thing. Again, this is based on replacing, in essence, what was there.
and the municipality owns both buildings?
Yes.
Councillor Van Breda.
How confident are you on, and I see here there's two funding streams, so the rural enhancement stream, up to $500,000, and number two is enhance your, up to $2 million at, like, how confident are you that we were able to get these two funding streams if we were to apply for them? Because I'd like, if we're gonna do this, I'd rather do it once and do it right. So, I'm like, so if we're able, if you're confident that we're able to get these two funding streams.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, I can't guarantee anything. I know for these funding streams, having a economic, an economic rationale behind this, like the lease space, would help support that application, but it's not a guaranteed thing.
Further comments? It's Sierra.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, also, it would be likely one or the other. We likely wouldn't be able to benefit from both. And we would likely be looking at the enhance your community stream of the two, just based on what we know so far. But we would absolutely, once council provides direction on which direction they want to go, we would then further look into the grant opportunities. So, and then of course, that would then come back to council and say, okay, here's an opportunity. We would get approval to apply for the grant, and things would proceed in course.
Mr. Costco.
That has a 50% cost share. So if you get $2 million, you're responsible for $1 million, which our original amount we allocated was $300,000. So that's a far cry from that, even if we get the grant.
Councillor Timpson.
I think it's worth it to try to get us through these funding. I've always said that, Hudson is it's an unpolished jewel. It's where people can live in town where there's nowhere here. It can be a bedroom community for the Sioux do this, we've been talking about it for 15 years. And, that building is 15 years older and it's gonna fall down someday if it's a farm. So I think we need to start to apply for the money. We've got 300,000. I like the idea of working with SLAM. That could, I think, strengthen your application. So that's what I'm saying.
Councillor Van Breda.
Yeah, like, I don't think we're gonna get a building for $300,000. I knew that from the start that that was probably just a little reserve fund, which it is, a reserve fund. But yeah, like if we're gonna do it, we should do it once and do it right, so that this building can be a generational, impact, not just a, stick frame building, or not just like a modular building. But like, yeah, if we're gonna do it, we gotta do it once and do it right, and make sure that this will really bring up the community of Hudson, which is what it needs. Like the community of Hudson needs this building. Everybody's looking at this building as like almost the start of Hudson's redevelopment almost. So I say, you know what, if we're able to get the stream for 50% cost share, I say like, let's explore it, why not?
Councillor Lego.
Is there any idea of what it would cost to operate this new facility? And also what would the taxes be per year? I would just like to get a sort of a picture of what else the taxpayers have to pay on top of $1 million.
CAO, who's going to answer that question?
To you, Mayor Lawrence. I don't believe we've done an analysis yet on operating costs because we haven't actually picked, or council hasn't picked which option they're looking, they want to go with. In terms of the sort of the core costs, if you will, your heat, your hydro, those types of things, given that what's currently being proposed is similar in size, and given that the heating and cooling and so on will be new and likely more efficient, I anticipate the annual operating costs would probably be close to what they are now, maybe a little bit less. Certainly at the outset, obviously as things age, they become a little more costly to maintain. And with respect to the taxes, Carly, can you speak to that?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, we haven't completed an analysis yet on the property, only because we weren't entirely sure which direction council was going to go with this. So depending on what the direction of council is tonight, I can start looking at that.
How would sorry, I'm not going to guess, the taxes would be calculated based on what general principles?
The size of the building, the type of, the project cost of what that usually is. There's a calculation that we do within the department.
And who will be the municipality isn't going to own the building, or?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, yes, the municipality would own the building.
So are we paying taxes to ourselves? Is it all sort of a moot point calculation?
That is correct.
Thanks. Yeah.
It's a zero.
Council, further questions?
Oh,
Councillor Costco, then Councillor Timpson.
No, we've committed ourselves to huge projects. Like we've committed ourselves to 3rd and Front Street for 3.4 million, Hillcrest for 5.9 million plus taxes, the booster station for 1.6 million, the Bigwood subdivision maybe 5.8, that could double. We need a new water tower. How healthy are we with our debt ratio? If we add another $1 million to that.
CAO.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, we haven't done a complete analysis, including this project. In regards to that, some of the projects will be funded through user fees as well, so it won't all come from taxation, but from an overall debt ratio for the municipality, we are in good condition right now, even including some of those projects.
we have lots of room according to the provincial formula. It's how much room, how close do you want to get to it?
Yes.
And then you look
How
at how much you're
comfortable,
paying annually in debt load, right? But in terms of your question, it's just how comfortable you are. We're well within the range. I think we're not much more than halfway through the range of the provincial allowance. Or is it 2/3? It's where we're positioned better than many municipalities and not as good as some. To me, it's a matter of comfort level. Councillor, I thought Councillor Timpson first, then Councillor Cassidy.
I was just gonna say, for 300,000, you might get a house, but I think this needs more than a house, it needs more than a senior center, it needs a community center, and gymnasium, and some facilities such as that, the community will use. And I really do believe that it would be used for events, people will rent it, we have Black Sioux might be renting it, I think it would pay for itself.
Councillor Cassidy.
So I look at the number, and obviously, I guess not obviously, but I still like the SLAM approach. I know it comes in at 1.29. 25% of that is contingency, right? So that's not allocated or a guarantee within the project costs. So that's 250,000 off that. If there's 50% funding available for that, that brings that down to 500,000 total. We have 300,000 set aside. The difference is about 200,000 to 300,000. That's what I see there. I think we looked at a pavilion project for Hudson that was brought forward design. I know my comments on that were, I would rather see, if we're going to spend and invest some money into Hudson, I would rather see it go towards something that will benefit the community all year round, or something that they need. I feel this is a better fit. I feel it's more practical. It provides some commercial opportunity in the community. It's replacing deteriorating infrastructure that we have out there. And I think we need to seriously consider applying for some funding and looking at options to move forward. I see a lot that does happen within Sioux Lookout, and I think we need to make sure that we are supporting Hudson in their community development out there, albeit we are one community, but we still have to be mindful there's distance between us. And so I would be in favor of moving forward with the SLAM costs, or the SLAM option, and contingent on getting the funding at this point. That would be my approach.
Councillor Lego.
Would we have to redo the septic field as well?
Through Mayor Lawrence, we would have to get Northwest Health Unit involved, but because we're replacing with a similar sized building, the septic field's been sized in accordance for that building, so it should be satisfactory.
And what are your thoughts on one or both of those buildings containing asbestos?
Well, we did do, through Mayor Lawrence, we did do a non-invasive asbestos audit on the Lost Lake Center, and none was found. But once you get into the attic space and different concealed areas, potentially you could find something, but it's hard to say at this point.
Do you remember what it cost us to remove asbestos from the Mayfair?
Through Mayor Lawrence was about 170,000.
Where was that asbestos located?
That was through Mayor Lawrence. That was all in the attic space.
Councillor Costco.
No, it seems like, are we taking down the Hudson Hall too, as well?
Through Mayor Lawrence, that's not the intent here.
So the intent of this is just to replace the senior center, and the Hudson Hall will still exist as it is. So we'll still be renting the Hudson Hall.
Yes.
So we'll be competing, again, like when you're saying to rent this, we're competing against our own selves.
Well, through Mayor Lawrence, the Hudson Hall is more geared towards recreational activities and maybe larger events potentially. It does have a bigger floor space than what's proposed here.
Yeah, but we're still maintaining the Hudson Hall, and this building would just be replacing the senior center. So it's just basically a senior center with 1,500 square feet of rental space.
Through your Mayor Lawrence, yeah, not quite 1,500, but yes.
Because it said in the report, half of the building is rental space. So will we be renting, if we pay, well over $1 million for this, will the rent be still $1,200?
So
for
through
these
Mayor
people?
Lawrence, half of the rental space was for the existing building. If you'll note on the floor plan, it's just the front part of the building. It's about 600 square feet. But with the new building, I think we would look at, more average, like today's market rates for rentals, which would increase that.
So does the tenant want to rent this space at an increased price? Like, do we even have a tenant?
Well, we have a tenant, currently
Right
have a
now,
tenant.
under the current
yes.
price. But if you put in a new building and you're increasing the rent, are they interested in renting the space? Like, should we even be in the rental business in Hudson? Should we be building buildings to rent? Like, should we be in that business? I don't believe we should be in the rental business. There's a lot of empty buildings in Hudson that people own that they could rent, and we're competing against our own taxpayers. So I don't believe we should be in the rental building business. I don't believe we should be putting a rental space in this new building when we have no even guarantee that if we have to increase the rent, obviously. So are the tenants even interested in that? Like that's an unknown to me at a very high cost.
Was there a question or a comment? Yep.
Yeah.
Comment, okay.
Well, I asked if the rent would increase, and he said yes, it would increase. It would change. The rent would change.
Councillor Timpson.
Through your Mayor Lawrence, it's like a photography studio, and they did have a little confection kind of area in there. Not that I'm aware of. But through your Mayor Lawrence, I mean, this design is based on feedback from the Hudson residents and direction from council at the March meeting.
Any further comments or questions? Councillor Van Breda and then Councillor Cassidy.
I mean, if we have a new hall, it would be nice to have council meetings in Hudson again. That would be nice. No, but like, again, though, it's just like,
Councillor Van Breda, can I cut you? Let's
Yeah.
not conflate issues here. Okay, all right. Thanks.
no, yeah, but just, we have the stream, and again, this is a once in a generation opportunity to do something with this building, because this building, I've been there so many times. Again, I tell my story that I was in the basement, walked up, and I suddenly couldn't breathe, had to walk outside. I don't know what was in there, but definitely something in the basement. That building's falling apart, and it's just like, I don't want to miss out on this opportunity to do something for this community, for our community. Even though Hudson is a part of Sioux Lookout, it is still a distinct society within the community of Sioux Lookout.
Councillor Cassidy.
I was just going to ask if there are, like, just looking at the setup of the building with the washrooms and that, and then with the other Hudson Hall, or the hall beside there for space, like, could there be something where this is another, or an alternate use for this could be for emergency management with evacuations and almost like a command center instead of, if needed, and I don't know if there's be funding or something, additional streams on that, if that was feasible, I guess.
Through your Mayor Lawrence, being designed as an assembly use building kind of makes it more stringent building code requirements, so use as a kind of an emergency planning place, or in these events, you might have to look at a backup generator kind of deal, but it's definitely an option to look at.
It was just a thought, yeah.
Councillor Boone.
I can't accept any of these new price points unless we get funding, confirm some funding, and maybe the private sector as well. A lot of these buildings in Sioux Lookout that have been built over the years, there's a lot of labor put in by organizations, whether it was ball teams to do the ball fields, hockey teams building dressing rooms. It still goes on today. You know, 300,000, okay, well, if it doubles to 600, but now it, you know, 1.5, we just have to find a way. I know it's important for Hudson, but 15, 20 minutes away, we have a senior center, we have a rec center, we have a library. It's not too far until we can figure something out. But at this time, like Councillor Costco spoke, we have some big projects on the go, and all these projects take time. And I think the next 2 or 3 years we have to bear down. So it's a no on what's presented today for me.
Any further comments or questions before I ask CAO clerk to provide some optional motions? Anything further? So, do you have some ideas yourself?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, sometimes there's a little more consensus around the table, so it's been a little more challenging this evening to come up with options. So what I can offer at this point, which is not necessarily reflective of consensus, and I will be fully understandable if council says that's a swing and a miss, that's okay. So that council directs staff with respect to the Lost Lake Drop-In Center to confirm funding eligibility. Sorry. And on that point, just to likely that would, we're not going to, I mean, we can get an idea if the project's going to be eligible, but to really sort of go into that foray, we would have to put in an application. So I don't know if council wants to go that far or not, but that's, so certainly confirming eligibility and under which program. That staff review the costing provided, and to determine if there are any other options that may be slightly more cost effective. And I suppose report back to council with their findings.
Okay, that sounds like a resolution that people can, I think you will get consensus on. It might not go as far as some may have wanted immediate approval, and some might have wanted to wipe the slate clean. But I'll get a mover for that motion, and with Councillor Costco, seconded by Councillor Timpson. I don't think I'm going to ask for discussion, because I think we've all in favor of the motion on the table? We have carried. Thank you. We look forward to the next report. Thank you, staff. Item 7.4. The council receives the planning report dated December 13, 2023, respecting a request to change approved draft plan conditions related to plan of subdivision application number S02-2023, and the council upholds the draft plan conditions of the JAM Developments Incorporated Plan of Subdivision application S02-2023 as approved by council at the July 19th, 2023 council meeting. Moved by Councillor Cassidy, seconded by Councillor Bone. Discussion starting with Councillor Cassidy.
For myself, going through this, I'm.
Jody has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Thanks, sorry.
Good evening, Patrick. Brian McKinnon from behind the camera. How are you?
Hi there, good evening everybody. Sorry, I just got logged in, so I apologize if I missed anything.
No, you're right on time. Thank you very much.
Very good. So we're just starting with the motion is on the table, and we're just starting the discussion, Patrick, with Councillor Cassidy.
Yeah. So for myself, I just find some confliction within this. Under the Planning Act, it tells us we can make change to the draft terms and conditions, yet we can do that. It's authorized under the Act, but Bell can still potentially take us to legal tribunal, even for us exercising our option under the Act. I don't understand how that works.
CBO, we're going to Patrick. Go ahead, Patrick. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question through you, Mayor Lawrence. So the situation is that, yes, council has the right to change conditions of draft plan approval, which is the case here. You received a request from the applicant to remove the conditions relating to providing essentially telephone and internet services. So as part of this request, the application or change of conditions is circulated to Bell. Bell has the ability, if the conditions are changed by council, to appeal within 20 days of the decision, no different than a standard zoning bylaw amendment or plan of subdivision application. What staff proactively did is, number one, spoke with municipality solicitor with the situation. They agreed that the original proposal was good planning, but the only risk to the municipality was that Bell Canada could potentially appeal on the basis that they were the only provider to provide comments on the original application. So what staff again have proactively done have spoken with Bell and basically explained the situation. It's not a 100% guarantee, but Bell is unlikely to appeal if there are changes of the conditions, but they wanted something in the new conditions in form of a advising clause or warning clause that each internet and telephone providers in the future would be at the onus of each owner on an individual basis. So that's the key there. So Bell would have the ability to appeal this decision if the conditions are changed, but based on discussions, they are unlikely to do so.
Okay.
That's your question?
Yep.
Further comments or questions? Councillor Bone.
Is the developer on board with these changes and ready to go if he did not go with Bell?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, this is like the last, I guess, condition. Everything else has been agreed upon and he's comfortable with, but this is kind of the last sticking point.
Council?
So,
Councillor Coffey.
so staff is recommending that we remove this clause for Mr. Morgan then?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, if you read the recommendation is to uphold the original
Okay.
draft plan of subdivision, so
Why would we be upholding it when Bell Canada is saying that they're unlikely to appeal? And I strongly believe that no one is going to be using Bell Internet at the end of Sturgeon River Road. So why would we force Mr. Morgan to incur this cost for a product that no one's going to be using? Yeah.
Sir, we're not forcing him to incur the cost.
Yeah, they're saying to uphold it.
well, through you, Mayor Lawrence, yeah, through this process, if council upholds the existing draft conditions as they are, that would be one of his responsibilities to install Bell services.
So you'd have to put Bell poles in for internet and landlines, which realistically, those Bell service is very outdated at the end of these rural roads. And I had Bell service and my speed was 0.1 and it took me 4 hours to download a movie. So I can't see anyone wanting this service, and to make Mr. Morgan incur this cost, which no one is going to purchase, it's cost prohibitive. It's not helping him. It's not moving housing forward. It's just putting an obstacle in his way that doesn't need to be there. So I strongly think, especially that Bell Canada said that they're most likely not going to be appealing, that we should be removing this clause and helping Mr. Morgan move this subdivision forward.
CIO?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence. So, staff's responsibility is to balance the the wants and desires of developers and business people in the community with managing risk for the municipality. And ultimately, yes, someone had a conversation with someone at Bell, but there's nothing in writing. There's no absolute commitment from Bell that they're not going to appeal. This still remains standard practice throughout the province. Very, very few developers, to the best of my knowledge, have ever balked at this requirement. It's a standard part of development. So staff, being cautious, is recommending that the conditions be upheld, but we also provided the option that council can choose to waive that condition and replace it with a condition that the developer inform potential purchasers that Bell service or telephone services, that there's none of those services available, and if they want them, they will have to bring them in at their own cost. So that's why we wanted to bring that option forward to council. Council has in the past looked at staff's recommendations and said, yep, we understand where you're coming from, but we want to go this way. They've done it at least twice. Council has done that at least twice this year on planning related matters, so that's not uncommon. But essentially, as staff, we wanted to bring forward what offers the most protection and the least risk for the municipality, but ultimately that's council's decision to sort of balance that out. So that's why we wanted to provide the options.
So if we waive the requirement to put them in, but add the requirement as the option that the developer provide each purchaser with a letter saying that if you want hardwired Bell, internet, et cetera, it will be at your cost. And if they don't have that letter, whose liability will it be? If they say, we want those services.
So sort of to clarify, if the letter isn't provided?
The services aren't installed.
Correct.
And the letter isn't provided, and we waive the requirement to put them in.
Then you can anticipate that they will be contacting the municipality to ask why that wasn't a requirement. So that's why we're suggesting that if the clause 24 or condition 24 and I think maybe 32 or something like that are removed, that we replace that with a clause that just says that the developer will be required to notify potential purchasers that service isn't included and that they would be responsible for those costs on their own.
And that's, I think, as a municipal council, we need to protect the municipality and say, fine, if you're betting that nobody wants them, that's fine, that's your bet. We're not gamblers at the council table. We will say, provide a letter, and so that if there's a liability and it goes to court, there's an issue of who's going to pay, the municipality does not have to pay in the future. It should not come to the municipality. So I think the letter of advice is, it helps the developer, waives that capital cost, and if they're sure that it's not going to be required, then with the provision of the letter, it covers the municipality, because we must consider the municipal risk here. Councillor Costco.
Is Mr. Morgan in favor of doing the waiver?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, yes, he's been made aware of this,
Yeah.
yes.
Doing the waiver, but whether he's in favor of the waiver, the letter, or whatever, council, you're acting on, we want to facilitate things for developers, but your duty is to protect the municipality as well as encourage development. It's a balance.
But you just said if he gives them the letter saying that when they purchase this lot, they recognize that there is no landline service and there is no land internet,
Yeah,
then we are protected.
We believe that goes
Yes.
in CAO.
And he's willing to do that, is he not?
through you, Mayor Lawrence, yes. So that would be a condition added if
Yes.
this Bell requirement is taken out. There's a new condition added that speaks to him notifying all potential purchasers that these facilities aren't available.
Personally, I think that's a great balance, and so do we need to modify the motion that's on the table then? Yeah. And that's what you're working on. Thank you, sorry. Stop bothering me, I'm doing my homework.
Yeah, that is actually good. like you, Brian, like you said, that, developers are required to normally put this in. I believe if the service existed, if 5G existed at the end of Sturgeon River Road, I don't believe Mr. Morgan would have an issue putting this in. But I believe it's because the service doesn't exist that it becomes the issue.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, I have a draft revised motion for council's consideration.
So the procedure to do this, we do have a motion on the table.
Yes, so I think this is not a friendly amendment. This is a fairly substantial one. So my recommendation would be that you call the question on the motion that's on the floor. I'm assuming it'll be defeated, and then I'll provide the alternative.
So everybody understands the motion that's on the floor. Based on the discussion tonight, we want to defeat that. So when I say all in favor, I'm suggesting you keep your hands down. If you, based on the discussion, you don't have to, but defeated.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence. So we have an alternative motion for council's consideration. The council directs staff to amend the draft subdivision conditions respecting the plan of subdivision SO2-2023 Sturgeon River Road, Jam Developments, Inc. To remove the requirements respecting Bell Telephone and replacing those clauses with a new condition that would require the developer to notify in writing potential purchasers of the absence of this service.
That covers it. Moved by Councillor Cassidy, seconded by Councillor Costco. Any final discussion? All in,
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, the council directs staff to amend the draft subdivision conditions with respect to plan to subdivision S02-2023 Sturgeon River Road, Jam Developments Incorporated, to remove the requirements respecting Bell and replacing those clauses with a new condition that would require the developer to notify in writing potential purchasers of the absence of this service. Or perhaps I should say Bell service.
Councillor Timpson?
Yeah, I just had one question. Would he have had to pay for that himself? If Bell had, he would have to look after that.
CAO or CBO, do we need to go to Patrick for any comments or advice? Can I ask that?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, I believe Patrick is aware that this was a viable alternative. Patrick, do you have any concerns with respect to our current discussion?
Thank you, Mr. CEO Clerk, and through you, Mayor Lawrence. No, that's fine. That's the direction of council, and again, we provided the red line version of the conditions with that change as an option, the secondary option. So nothing further to add based on the discussion.
Thank you. So I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thanks, staff.
Have a great evening, everybody.
Thank you, Patrick. The council authorizes the passing of bylaw number 102-23, being a bylaw to provide for the 2024 interim tax levy and late payment charges. And further, the council approves the 2024 interim tax levy to be due in 2 installments, with due dates to be the last working date in February and the last working date in April 2024. Moved by Councillor Bowen, seconded by Councillor Cassidy. Discussion starting with Councillor Timpson.
I just had a question. This is for the interim tax levy end of February. Wouldn't we don't have the budget ready by that time, or if the levy is higher than you're anticipating? Is that accounted for?
I'll go to the treasurer, CEO. Treasurer.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, this is common practice for all municipalities to pass this bylaw. Municipalities are allowed to bill 50% of the previous year's taxes until such time that the budget is approved. And then once the budget is approved, the final tax bill adjusts for whatever sort of increase that council has given direction on.
Anything further, council? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And if I'm not mistaken, we're going to 7.11. The council directs staff to submit resolutions as determined by council at the December 13th, 2023 regular council meeting for consideration at the 2024 Kenora District Municipal Association KDMA annual meeting. Moved by Councillor Bowen, seconded by Councillor Cassidy. Discussion, this was lifted, CAO, help us.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence. So annually, well, typically annually, all municipalities within the Kenora District Municipal Association catchment area are asked to forward any resolutions that they would like KDMA to consider endorsing, which, if endorsed at the KDMA level, then moves up to the Northwestern Ontario Municipal Association, the NOMA level. If approved at NOMA, it gets moved up to AMO, and so on and so forth. What we normally do is bring forward any outside resolutions that council has passed in the year, or any other resolutions that members want to, feel are worthy of bringing forward and looking for regional support on. And so the attachment to the report outlines resolutions that were passed earlier this year, the date they were passed, what the resolution was, and so on. Now, we did receive one final resolution that's been included in here. That's the very last one that says for consideration at the December 13th, 2023 council meeting. So that is a new one that council hasn't seen before. So very quickly, and perhaps the easiest way to go through this is if I provide a brief overview of each one, and council can say yes or no. If that.
Excellent.
Thank you. So the first one passed at the February 15th, 2023 council meeting, which was Sioux Lookout supporting the Town of Petrolia's council resolution with respect to school board elections. And essentially, the ask there was that the province make school boards responsible for their own elections and sort of remove that from the municipal election process. So that's the first one. If council wishes to let me know if they want to forward that to KDMA.
Any advice or comment yourself, CIO?
Certainly.
And clerk, because clerks run the elections.
Yes, so with my clerk hat on, through you, Mayor Lawrence, certainly it would simplify and reduce some of the costs of the municipal elections if school boards ran their own.
Say no more.
Very good.
For me,
I remember that conversation.
okay, so I think we're in favor of this one. Councillor Lego.
How many can we just say yes to all of them, or, okay, thank you.
Oh, you want to say yes to all of them right now, or is that?
Well, we've approved them along the way.
Okay.
We did approve them all already.
Okay, so
along the way,
is there anything?
except for this last one, which.
Does anybody have anything? Okay, so let's do the last one. So it's yes to all of them, is my understanding. Thank you, Councillor Lego. And the last one.
So through you, Mayor Lawrence, we did receive within the last couple of weeks a resolution from a local citizens group respecting long-term care. It'll have to be read because it'll have to be passed as a resolution if council wishes to do so. Perhaps I'll just read it for members.
Yes.
The title is Sioux Lookout Council supports long-term care beds in Sioux Lookout. Whereas the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Sioux Lookout recognizes the importance of being the hub of Northwestern Ontario for healthcare, and whereas the Municipality of Sioux Lookout continues to advocate and call on the government of the Province of Ontario to help ease the shortage of long-term care beds in Northwestern Ontario, and whereas the Municipality of Sioux Lookout acknowledges that because there are limited long-term care beds, that it is negatively affecting the availability of acute care beds in Sioux Lookout, and thus will affect bed accessibility in neighboring communities, making it a regional issue. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Sioux Lookout requests that the Province of Ontario allocate specific capital funding outside of the current funding model, as it does not provide sufficient funding for construction in Northwestern Ontario for the construction of new long-term care beds in Sioux Lookout, And be it further resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Sioux Lookout requests that the Kenora District Municipal Association, KDMA, supports Sioux Lookout's motion calling on the Province of Ontario to allocate capital funding for the building of new long-term care beds in Sioux Lookout.
Moved by Councillor Van Breda, seconded by Councillor Lego. Any discussion? Councillor Timpson.
I was wondering if we couldn't strengthen that this is not a Sioux Lookout issue, it's a regional issue. Because that'll be the big issue, well, we don't care about Sioux Lookout. It's there, but it's, I think it needs to be strengthened.
Put it in capital?
No, I think we need to say more about it, that this is affecting the long-term care availability of Dryden, Kenora, and everybody else, so it's not just Sioux Lookout.
Councillor Lego.
Should we also have in there that the funding model should be similar to our current long-term care bids? Because we have a special,
Yeah, it was called LCAP, and
Yep.
it's disappeared. I mean, they've done it once, why can't they do it again? But
Exactly.
so just refer,
well, just that whereas funding should be,
and I was thinking about, whereas the province has overcome this hurdle previously to build 20 long-term care beds, the need has only grown. The province needs to do that again. They figured out that the funding model didn't work in 1990, and they created a new model for Northern Ontario called LCAP and put in 20 homes across Northern Ontario. The 20 beds here is among the largest, I think. But the point being that they can break or think outside their financial model in the past. The need for long-term care has only grown in Sioux Lookout and the northern communities. They need to do it again. And to Councillor Timpson's point, just trying to see where can we.
I think maybe just lengthen that third whereas.
Whereas the municipality of Sioux Lookout acknowledges that because there are limited long-term care beds and that it is negatively affecting the availability of acute care beds in Sioux Lookout and regional communities. Or is it? We don't know that. I don't want to say that.
No, I would just say that it's limiting the access of long-term care for the entire district, not just Sioux Lookout.
Sioux Lookout and District, you want to say?
Yeah,
Sioux Lookout and District.
so it would be, it's not just the impact on acute care beds, it's the impact on people needing to get into long-term care. So it's that because there are limited long-term care beds, that is negatively affecting people waiting for long-term care across the district. It's yeah, and the availability of acute care beds in Sioux Lookout. Can you work something in there?
With Council's trust, we will absolutely
Okay.
add these things in.
Okay. Council's trust. Okay, Councilor Cassidy.
Yeah, no, that's good. I'm just, I remember that report, but I don't remember the ratio. Is there a ratio per capita for long-term care beds? Like, is that something we want to, construction for new long-term care beds to
The
do?
ratio is there are ratios, and I mean the one I've always gone on is that we have 20 beds for 30,000 people. It's 2/3 of a bed per 1,000. The provincial average, if you do the math, you just have to Google it, and you'll get different numbers depending. But 80,000 long-term care beds. Do the math simply. 16 million people. It's 10 times what we have. It's 6-7 long-term care beds per capita. Sometimes in the health sector, they want to do the ratio in population 65 and over, so they'll do it per 1,000 of 65 and over. I've always argued that because of the nature of the population serviced by here, that just doesn't work. People for years have aged earlier and need long-term care earlier. So it's just, I like the overall, it's a good comparator, just the total population. So we're about, I think it's about 10 to 1 off the ratio, the provincial average. Councillor Van Breda?
In those infographics I made, I had at the bottom, the last one. I tried to find it in my email. I guess I don't have it. It's something that like our ratio is way off of the Ontario average. Like we have 6 or 7 year wait, and the average wait time I think was about 3 years. So we're almost double the wait time of the provincial average.
Well, the average wait time isn't 3 years, it's way less than that.
Way less than
We're about 2 to 3 years. The average wait time is more like, I think,
Long-term care.
2 to,
Reese
yeah,
has the
it's 2 to 6.
Reese, it's right there.
2 to
Oh,
6
it's right
months.
here, sorry.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Councillor Van Breda,
Yeah.
there were a few, in that infographic, I thought there was a few things that were a little bit,
These were passed by the CEO and president of the Sioux
Okay,
Minnetonka Health
okay.
Center, so.
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, sorry, yeah. So to read it, so it's one long-term care bed for 1,000 persons in the Sioux Lookout and Minnetonka Health Center catchment area. The Ontario average is 30 long-term care beds per 1,000.
And that's where, if you do any Google, I guess it depends what you call long-term care, but when there are 85,000 long-term care beds in Ontario, and do the math, and it comes out to about 6 2/3 beds per 1,000, not 20. So I don't know where that 20 comes from. It may be the definition of long-term care. Are they calling
Or
some
private
retirement
facilities or
homes or
something, yeah.
whatever? So I don't know.
Also wonder too if it would be worthwhile mentioning in there that the hospitals that are looking after alternate care patients are really decreasing the ability to look after acute care, ordinary people who need to be in hospital. I mean, this is the discussion at Minnetonka is that they're eventually gonna have to close, they're gonna be a long-term care facility in the hospital, and we won't have acute care because it's now, it was up 45% of the hospital was alternate level of care. It's now 35%, but.
It goes up and down, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, to your point earlier, the point of this resolution, I mean, I don't think we have to get all the facts and figures in it, because the point is to get the region, then the bigger region, and then so I think what Councillor Timpson was suggesting earlier was something that makes it more appealing to the other KDMA communities. So,
So it doesn't look like it's.
so can we put our trust in, thank you.
So one last comment, sorry. At the KDMA AGM in February, are we able to kind of like talk about our motion and say, please, Kenora, can you vote in favor of this? So it's not just, we're able to kind of.
No,
speak
the
about it.
motion goes, it's like a council meeting. The motion goes to the floor, and if you're an elected representative to a municipality and you are a registered KDMA conference attendee, you get to make comments and discussion.
Yeah, 'cause I think speaking to the councilors at the table, saying, you know what, Dryden, you're going to have Dryden and Kenora, telling them like you're going to have Sioux Lookout people in your hospitals soon. So I think telling them face to face, if it's in the motion, telling them to their face, but like, get ready. You don't have enough people for your people. Now you're going to have Sioux Lookout people now. So this is a regional issue.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was told the percentage of people at Thunder Bay Regional Health Sciences Center that came from our region that are in Thunder Bay, it was, I don't want to say a number because I can't remember, but it was
Extremely high.
incredible. Yeah. And so, I mean, it is a regional health sciences center, but the percentage that is coming from is huge. Go ahead.
We're just gonna, maybe we can just make Minnetonka all long-term care and get a new hospital built.
Probably easier.
So, Councillor, are we good with saying in favor and then in trust of
tweaking it, yeah.
staff? Basically, okay, all in favor? Carried, thank you. We had consensus on that item, CIO.
Can't have consensus on everything.
Absolutely not, no. Council reports. Councillor Van Breda.
Sorry. Through
have
you,
I
Mayor
missed
Lawrence. Yeah, so we sort of passed a motion within a motion, which is, I allowed that to happen, my apologies. So we passed the motion to support the, council has passed a motion to adopt the resolution with some tweaking of the long-term care beds, so that was sort of separate. But we still, if you don't mind, need to call the question on the actual motion to direct staff to submit these resolutions to KDMA, and so that was moved by Councillor Bone and seconded by Councillor Cassidy.
All in favor? Carried.
Thank you.
And thank you, you brought me back because I jumped ahead with that. There's bylaws to do, right? Why don't you go ahead, Clerk, thanks.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, there are a few bylaws before council this evening for its consideration, three readings, and potentially passing. They are bylaw number 102-23, being a bylaw to provide for the 2024 interim tax levy and late payment charges. Bylaw number 103-23, being a bylaw to permanently close, declare surplus, and authorize the sale of a highway of the municipality of Sioux, 660 Sturgeon River Road. That was with respect to the public hearing matter. Bylaw number 104-23, being a bylaw to authorize the temporary borrowing of monies to meet the current expenditures of the corporation of the municipality of Sioux. Bylaw number 108-23, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 50-05, being a bylaw to adopt the personnel policy manual for the corporation of the municipality of Sioux Lookout.
Moved by Councillor Lego, seconded by Councillor Van Breda. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Notice of motions to reconsider, none.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, I have
Outside
none.
resolutions we've dealt with already. Now we can go to councillor reports. Councillor Van Breda.
Awesome, thank you. So on the 22nd, I attended the Ear Falls Council meeting to discuss my motion to reinstate Sioux Lookout into the Northern Tax Allowance. Had a great time at the council meeting. Happy to say that they did vote in favor. So that's, I think, 7 communities that voted in favor of this motion. And also, I will be visiting the Dryden Council meeting on January 8th to ask for them to do the same. And I'm still in talks with the city of Kenora for me to go to their council meeting. I've sent, I think, 3 emails. Haven't heard back yet, but fourth one's the charm probably. We had our Truth and Reconciliation Committee meeting. There wasn't enough quorum, but we are still planning to meet in January. We had our Environmental Committee meeting last Thursday. We had Todd from Fresh Market visit and discuss food waste. I think we had a really good discussion and what Todd is doing here in Sioux Lookout. Today, I attended the Northwestern Health Unit 75th anniversary kind of cafe and luncheon in their office. They recently renovated it and it looks really nice, and hope all goes well with them. I think that's really about it.
Thank you. Councillor Timpson.
Not too much. I had to get out of Toronto for a family emergency. My regular boards and committees, and I did one substituting in for the mayor up at was it at school? I think it was. We were away out there.
Thank you.
It was a last minute call to go and
Was it the? Yep. Thanks, Councillor Timpson.
other than that, that's all I've done this week.
Councillor Bone.
I attended special meetings November 30th, October 26th. I had a meeting with acting CAO clerk on various topics discussed. I also visited the nation's capital, went for a walk on Parliament Hill, and I ran into some supporters looking to get some additional exemptions for farmers on certain farming operations. It was interesting. They're all around that, is it called the Centennial Flame, and they were quite nice and inviting. Yeah, told them where I was from and went on my walkabout. That's about it.
Thank you.
It was the MRI launching the fundraiser.
Yes, thank you. Councillor Costco.
I attended this special council meeting on economic development, and we all had an opportunity to talk with the economic development officer, who seems to be doing some excellent work. I've had a couple of meetings with the acting CEO and clerk, which we're very positive, and I'm continuing to learn from Brian, which I appreciate him sharing his knowledge with me. We visited, Councillor Van Breda and myself, we visited the fire hall, and I was very, very impressed with Jeremy and what he's doing there. And it's just looks like a ship-shape place to work, and it looks just fantastic. Everything looks great there. The TRC, we didn't have quorum. We did come to the meeting, but someone didn't arrive, so then we weren't able to have the meeting. So hopefully with the TRC that we can meet with a few of the members and figure out a better model, because it's been two and a half years almost where we haven't been able to make quorum. We've had one meeting, which was a very short 25-minute meeting, I think. So, you know, no sense us doing the same thing over and over and over. Maybe we need a different approach to that. So, because I think it's important, and I think we need to, you know, listen and hear part of Truth of Reconciliation and maybe make some changes. I've had various discussion on various different issues with members of the public, hence my meetings with Brian. And I did attend an event at the library, which, you know, the library is such an intricate part of the community right now with such a positive staff. They're doing just great stuff. I've also attended any MRI fundraisers that are in the community as well. So that was my month.
Thank you. Councillor Cassidy.
Yeah, for myself, Hydro Board and Pace, we both went this past month. I attended the municipal Christmas party. It was well put on. Organized a community skate with the Bombers, and as well as a food and toy drive for First Step and for the food bank. So, my month.
Thank you. Councillor Leggo.
Attended the Christmas party as well. LCC meeting last night. Just regular operations are continuing on Lac Seul Forest and the Caribou Forest. I missed the special council meeting with the Economic Development Officer and the CAO's retirement. I was under the weather. And also, if anyone is interested, the National Citizens Inquiry released the report to Canada's COVID response on November 28th. They had 305 witnesses, 94 expert testimony, and spent 24 days going across Canada getting these testimonies. It is over 5,000 pages long. It's in 3 volumes. So I'm pretty sure you can just Google it and order one.
We'll wait for the précis, thanks. Thank you, Councillor Leggo. Like Councillor Timpson, I've been dealing with personal matters, not in Toronto but in Thunder Bay. That's taken quite a bit of my time, and I want to thank Council for their understanding. I've missed a meeting or two, and councillors have filled in on me for me as well. I did get to the KDSB Governance Committee meeting. When I say get to, that was probably a virtual meeting. Let's be clear here. It wasn't a get to. Various meetings with Brian, Michelle's retirement dinner, which was very nice, and we acknowledged that she retired at the end of this month, fully retired. Northwestern Health Unit, we've had various meetings, and the chair, I'm the chair and the vice chair, the medical officer of health, and the executive director would be meeting with the Thunder Bay District Health Unit regarding the how can I put this? The amalgamation, the merger that we're going to do a viability assessment of the merger at the suggestion of the province. We're all quite confident the viability assessment will show that a merger is not the viable way to go. But that's all taking place over the next, it's underway now. A consultant will be hired before Christmas, and that'll be done in January, February. It's been taking a fair bit of time in terms of meeting, because we're now meeting with another district health unit. So we've got to mesh and agree and move things along. There was an emergency control group session, which unfortunately I missed, but the fire chief caught up with me and got me up to date, and I've signed the necessary paperwork. I'm seeing lots of health unit in here, so thanks for your patience. I've been missing in action a little bit, but hopefully back now. And that was the month that was. Sioux.
Mayor Lawrence, we did inadvertently skip over item 7.12 with the road allowance closure and sale. We have since passed the bylaw, but if we could just get a mover and seconder for the authorization to pass the bylaw, we
Did
missed
we
that.
not include it in the, I thought we had it in the,
Oh, it was
in
part of
the
the consent
consent agenda?
My apologies. Thank you.
Wow, I got one on the clerk. That's so unusual. So a motion to move into closed session at 6:55 PM to discuss matters of a general nature relating to education and training of the members pursuant to the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, Section 239, 3.1, one item, budgeting. Moved by Councillor Lego, seconded by Councillor Cassidy. All in favor? Carried. We are now in closed session.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, no. No motions passed in closed session this evening.
Confirmatory bylaw number 107-23, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Municipality of Silicote, December 13th, 2023 regular council meeting. Be read a first, second, and third time and passed. Moved by Councillor Cassidy, seconded by Councillor Timpson. All in favor? Carried. Happy Christmas, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you.